Good morning. This is Talk Back to Television, and I'm here with Nick Cicero from Mondo Metrics, your founder and CEO. So, first of all, Nick, where are you joining us from?
Hey, Rick, longtime listener, first time caller. I'm excited to be here. And I live in Warwick, New York, so just outside of the city, about an hour or so in the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh, there you go. All right. All
Yeah.
right. So now listen. What is Mondo Metrics and how did it come to happen?
Yeah, Mondo Metrics is a measurement company, and we work with sports media and creator brands to help them best understand the landscape that we live in today with all the fragmented content and platforms that exist out there. And it came about when I had a previous company called Del Mondo, not to be confused. I just love the name Mondo. And we started that back in 2014 and built the first analytics for Snapchat, Instagram Stories, and Facebook Live. Before a lot of the other measurement or analytics tools out there were really thinking about that. And really, like my whole thesis has been around the growth of video and cross platform media in general. So we started Del Mondo. We built some of the first social video analytics tools that were out there, working with a lot of more enterprise sports and media companies. So everybody from TED Talks and Viacom to the NFL and UEFA on the sports side, and then grew that business and was acquired by Conviva back in 2018, the streaming analytics company. So I stayed on as founders typically do. I stayed on for 4 years at Conviva and had a great time and got to work on a lot of really new streaming platforms as they were coming out. So like Peacock and Disney Plus and a lot of the other ones. But then, as things happen with founders, I went my way and they went with theirs. And during the time after I left Conviva, I have always been really into audio and podcasting. So I was actually a music major as an undergrad and have done a lot of like music production work when I was younger for TV shows and jingles and things like that. So I've always been a huge podcast listener personally, and I saw this back in the Del Mondo with some of our clients. Is there was this really big emerging category of what was typically looked at as social or mobile video that was now happening on television. So I saw that there were more podcasts that were distributing their content to YouTube as video shows or series that were going out there. And and so what we started to do is we found out that there was really no way to centralize all of your podcast and social content with all of the other places that you might be creating content today. So that was kind of the early kind of vision to start with Mondo, and then quickly realized that at the same time, a lot of the great tools that existed 10 years ago for social teams, television marketing teams, sports teams, creators, they have gone away. They either got acquired, like my company, they got bought out by private equity, or they just became way too expensive. And there were a lot of I would say today more than ever before, you have this huge shift that's happening in the world of media and in social media, where on the media space, it's pretty clear that YouTube is the number one streaming service that exists out there with all of this amazing content, right? More than Netflix, more than Hulu is YouTube. And you also had this change that was happening in social media at the same time, which was kind of the real switch that happened around TikTok from the social graph to the interest graph. So those two factors in particular were really clear to me. And at the end of the day, I realized that you needed to have more analytics tools that could help content publishers really understand the barometer of the algorithms today, right? Because before it used to be that if I followed you, I would see your stuff, right? And the more people that followed you, the more signal that social platforms had to show your stuff to more people. And today it's totally different. And now it's more about the things that we search out or the things that we view. And it's not as easy for us to just look at the accounts that have the most followers as the highest areas of signal for what's working in the world of content. So there really needed to have some other set of public data that really took into account all of the different types of content, the formats, the platforms, the different lengths of video that now exist, to be able to give what we call high volume content publishers a much better view of what's happening right now in the landscape. So that's kind of how we came to be.
Cool. All right. So now you're picking up social and you're picking up short form on TikTok and YouTube, which is sort of everything. Are you picking up any, what I'll now refer to as traditional streamers? Are you picking up what I might be looking at through my Roku box on Amazon Plus?
Not for everybody, right? So we will. There's kind of two sides of our business. So
Okay.
one side is your own data is the best way to talk about it. So we
Yep.
help companies orchestrate all of the different various data sources from from streaming and even with some clients linear television, their podcast data, their newsletter data, and then all of the different social channels, and bring that all together so they can see how they all work together combined, instead of trying to pick and choose on them separately. So for some of our clients, we will pull in a streaming app video data and include that with data from Adobe and data from all the different social media channels and from YouTube and also from their audio feeds from podcasts, and help them understand like what are related to one another. So that's the orchestration side of the business, where we help folks understand that cross-platform view of their content, help them identify what's all related to one another. So we do a lot of really great work with automatic tagging and categorization of content. So that's that orchestration side. The other side is the industry landscape and
Okay.
using all of the publicly available social and video data, like on YouTube, to be able to kind of map almost like a Bloomberg terminal. And that's what we launched recently with Mondo Trends. Mondo Trends is very much like that Bloomberg terminal for attention in the social and video space, because you have so many companies, so many creators, right? It's every day there are new accounts that become popular, become relevant, and are getting a ton of attention that weren't there yesterday. And that is only going to continue. So you really need to be able to understand what are the signals that the audience out there in the world is really interested in, because the algorithms are surfacing the things that people are watching that show that they like to watch. And they're showing different formats, they're showing different lengths of content depending on what bubbles up. And there really isn't a good way to be able to understand that if you are somebody that's creating content for YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, for example.
Okay, so now your clients are going to be certainly content creators, and I would assume advertisers and brands, right?
Yeah. So I would say our clients are predominantly folks that produce the content, sell advertising in the sports media, entertainment, podcasting, creator worlds today, right? So we have sports teams, or we have sports leagues like League One Volleyball or the United Football League. We have broadcasters like Telefe down in Argentina, who's broadcasting like traditional television and shows and adapting to those. But then we also have a lot of really interesting like creator brands and creator companies that we're working with, and these are folks that might represent a network of individuals and help them better monetize and grow their audience.
Okay. My audience is primarily content creators, studios, the distributors, a lot of ad tech, a lot of brands, little teeny bit of financial. Give me a use case. We've got 5 minutes left, so don't get carried away. Give me a good use case on somebody who came to you and said, "What's going on with my X, whether it's my ad or my brand or my IP?" Give me a use case for that.
Absolutely. So let me give you two fast examples. One is League One Volleyball. So League One Volleyball is a brand new league, right? They're new. They haven't necessarily they have a TV deal, so they're creating content and they have full matches that go live on television, just like any other sports league. They have content that lives on YouTube and other platforms, and they also have this great network of athletes as well. And so, in particular, for women's sports, in order to grow yourself as a league and as a new sport, today you really have to have culture and personality that attracts people to the sport.
You need
And
fans that really feel those athletes and that team in that league, that sport, right?
absolutely. And men's sports has had the luxury of the cable revolution in the 90s and 2000s, right? So the culture of men's sports took shape when every talking head would go on any sports talk radio, sports channel, cable networks, the infinite number that had existed at
Yep.
that point. Whereas today, women's sports, there's a fraction of the men. First off, there's a fraction of the women's sports to men's sports from a broadcast perspective, just of the games, and an even smaller percentage when it comes to that cultural and lifestyle content, right? So, in order for a new upstart league like League One Volleyball to grow, they really need to activate not only all of their teams on social media, but also all of their athletes. And so, what League One Volleyball is using is they can go in and understand what types of content are driving overperforming amounts of engagement, right? So,
Okay.
what are the storylines? What are the content series, original series that they're developing in social and on YouTube that are holding people's attention, that are getting them to interact and engage, not just on their own accounts, but also now extending into the athletes or the creators or the podcasters that they partner with too. So they can go in and understand that, a 10-minute long show on YouTube that talks about the best kills of the week for the league outperform a 20-minute long show or a 3-minute long TikTok video that might be about one particular team in general. So they can use this to grow their content strategy. They can use this to understand what their fans are most interested in and then create more content that can drive that engagement further. And that's the second thing is that for if you're, let's say you're a sports team or a podcaster, right? You want to be able to understand what others in your industry and
Oh yeah.
outside of your industry are doing, so you can adopt those ideas from them,
Who
right?
else
Because we
is
live in
knocking the
that.
ball out of the park that I can go, okay, I get that.
Exactly. Yeah, like we're all in the business of hitting home runs here. And so they're every day, right, with all of the creators that exist on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram that are wildly inventive in terms of the new ways that they can tell stories to people online. The more traditional companies, they need to adopt those strategies as well. They need to think like the way that the fan is consuming and the other types of content that they're consuming. So we'll often see some of the NFL and NBA teams that we work with, for example, they want to see what each other's doing. So the NFL wants to see how are teams in the NBA merchandising their players, telling the stories of those players, telling the stories of the team. What kind of content are they using to drive a ticket sale, like promoting ticket sales within games? Are they using video? Are they using photo? Are they using a certain platform versus another? And that's a big area.
Okay. We
And then
got
on the
about 30
podcast,
seconds. We got about 30 seconds. What's the most important thing that a sports brand should pay attention to in your world? 20 seconds.
the most important thing that they should be paying attention to is YouTube and the growth of YouTube, because I do think that sports companies today need to think more like creators and build episodic content and franchises on YouTube instead of just relying on highlights and behind the scenes content.
All right. Nick Cicero from Mondo Metrics. Uh, Thank you for your time. We're going to sign off. This will air on August 13th.
Thank you, Rick.